Stephen,
Andrew.
do you fancy spending a quiet night inside number 9?
As always, of course I do.
And we are spending our first quiet night inside number 9 properly without people, watching for
this
quite
is
a while.
A proper quiet night inside number 9.
A real quiet night. So it's the Series 6 has finished airing and we're going back into the onion. And
not quite so raw onion.
Yeah, it's been quite nice to be able to watch the episodes in a relaxed manner. Or, I haven't watched all of them yet, but certainly Wuthering Heist, and not thinking, what are we getting here? How are we going to talk about it? And why have we decided to do this?
And I think this was, with the way the series progressed, I think this was the worst one as our first one to try and do that with.
Yes.
Possibly this or Last Night at the Proms would have been the worst one.
Yeah. I think Last Night at the Proms might have been a challenge.
I think there's a very good chance that if that had been first up, we would have scrapped the whole idea of live reactions completely and gone, no.
Yeah, that's true.
No.
Yeah, and I suppose when we did the first one, we weren't planning necessarily to do the entire series as live reactions.
It just panned out that way.
Yeah, which was fun, but also quite stressful. I was thinking it's very different to doing it with a series, like a kind of, whatever the word is, like a long story series where it's not an anthology. Because at least the characters, really like the story.
You've got
has
like
an arc to it.
the arcs you've got to sort of react to in terms of how they fit into what's happened before and what you think is going to happen next.
Exactly. So you have some pretty firm ground to stand on in the first place. But with this, it's like we've got to,
Quicksand. It was quicksand.
Yeah. And Wuthering Heist is an episode where you're like holding on for dear life, trying to like you get your head around the characters, get your head around the themes, what's going on. And even on the second viewing, I've got to the end of it and I was like, I'm not sure I understand what the plot is at all. And there's a few plots, and there's the plot within the plot and the plot on the side of the plot, and then the supra plot, the mini plot. There's a plot in the sense of as plot.
I've lost the plot. Yeah.
Plot. What a word, plot.
Don't know what it means anymore.
Yeah, and there's the kind of the meta plot or the
stop saying plot.
Just step out of what you're seeing.
Something else. Use a different word. Narrative. Something.
Yeah. And because they'd said there was an original ending was they were going to, do the whole theatrical thing of having kind of a curtain call,
taking bows and you've been watching kind of thing.
Exactly, which I think would undermine the supra plot. That's a really hard word to say. It's not a word, but the sense that this is more than a theatrical little performance, because there are people dead within the overriding plot.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It's a bit like Devil of Christmas in that respect, because
that is true.
You've got the story there that's being acted, and then there's this whole other
horror story going on above it.
It gets revealed, yeah.
Supranational warehouse day, where we are today.
Yes, exactly. So I thought we might start with, we've had a couple of reactions to this. I was kind of searching the different places. There was a couple of people reacted on YouTube. I don't think we received any emails that I could find about this one specifically. But yeah, so Sean Face said, I really enjoyed this episode, quite a few laughs in there, and thought it was quite fun, to be honest. And then T Electronics said that turn to camera and You're With Me Now was stunning and that was terrifying.
Chilling, that was.
Yeah.
You're with me now.
And then Tables, Athers and Chairs said, didn't enjoy Zanzibar and didn't enjoy this. Too artsy for my taste. Didn't get what they were referencing, so I felt lost throughout. The jokes didn't land for me and left me feeling even more confused. I'll accept this episode wasn't for me and move on and hope they get back on form. Respect to them both for being extremely clever and brave enough to do a show out of the box like this. But yeah, not a fan of shows you kind of have to do homework or know what it's based on to get.
I think that there's a very nice message in there, which is that acknowledging when something isn't for you, and not taking it as a personal attack on yourself, I think is a really refreshing thing to hear.
Yeah,
because I get it. I think your initial reaction was that I'm not sure I like that because I'm not a fan of puns, or am I a fan of puns? I don't know.
Well, in the weeks since, I've realised no, I am. I pun all the time. I'm like, my way of thinking is very much playing on words.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe
it was just close to my bone.
Let's leave that hanging there.
I think tragedy plus time.
That's great. I like that. It's like watching Naked Gun meets Reservoir Dogs meets Hustle is what this is.
Yeah. It's true.
And it is a relentless half an hour of just an assault on you with puns.
Yeah. And other things. It is a relentless assault on the senses. Like, and as you say, the fact that this was the first one that we were kicking off with as a reacting to everything that had just gone on immediately afterwards was like, where do we even begin? Funnily enough, my parents had never seen Inside Number 9, and they decided to watch this series. And I thought, Wuthering Heist probably, I don't know how you feel about this, but it would not be up there on my list of ways into Inside Number 9.
No, it would not.
Viewer.
No, definitely not. There are a certain few that I would hold back on using as the first one you show someone. I think Bombay Bad Boy, Fritzl is definitely not an intro one. Riddle of the Sphinx as a first episode, no. Anything that involves carving and eating human flesh is probably a bit of a no. I went for that as number 3 with my parents.
Did you? Yeah.
I did.
What was your number 1?
Christine.
Yeah,
go all in. You just go all in.
It's a brave, yeah.
It tells you whether it's something that they're going to get or not. Because I think it's got wide enough appeal, because if you don't feel anything at the end of that, you are a monster.
Yeah.
And you do not have a heart, only a swinging brick.
Jeez. Yeah, I went for Bernie Clifton as a...
That's again...
Because I was like, yeah, don't go off with Wuthering Heist as an indication of this is a representation of Inside Number 9. I was like, Bernie Clifton's dressing room. I mean, you've got similar kind of humour type things to Wuthering Heist. Like you've got
the puns and the wordplay.
Yeah, and some kind of very physical humour. But you do have the emotional arc to it is powerful. So yeah, and it resolves into that beautiful ending as well. So yeah, they did enjoy that one. But yeah, in terms of like first episodes of the series as well, because there's a theme with like ensemble casts, isn't there? So you've got Sardines, quite an ensemble in the cupboard. Lacochette's the series 2 opener. Devil of Christmas, not quite so much. Zanzibar, definitely, and the referee's a winner. Definitely. Ensemble.
Yeah.
So this is in keeping with that. And it was interesting to hear them talk about the fact that they didn't know whether this was going to be Series 6 or Series 7.
I gave in and listened to the podcast this series round.
Yeah.
I hadn't
that's
before.
okay because we did the reaction.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that we've done that initial one, and I was always conscious of when we did our first chat through any of the episodes that I didn't want to end up just sort of echoing those and just saying, well, we've heard them say this, and they said this. But I think, however, having listened to them, that there's more to add to everything they've said. I don't think they are in the business of self-indulgently pulling apart everything that they've written and performed to the extent that we're happy to.
Yeah, exactly. So hearing them say this could have been Series 7, this could have been Series 6, and they wrote it as it was during the pandemic, it was a socially distanced, more or less, thing. Which you could tell.
You can see, they've got that
but
big...
it's not ruined by that.
Wide space. No, the big wide space. And now you come to mention it, kind of when they're sat around on their chairs.
Yeah.
They're all quite like a long way apart, and I guess the setting allows that to happen quite easily. Which again, as soon as they walked in, that private view aesthetic with the draped plastics, plastic curtains, that was what I was thinking again.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay, so I mean, normally we'd do a synopsis, wouldn't we? But I think there's no point in doing a synopsis with this.
There's a heist, diamond heist. All goes to hell.
I made a list of the plot. So let's get back to plots.
Okay.
So you've got the main plot and then the subplot, which is obviously sort of, it's all structured around Commedia dell'arte, and so that sort of aesthetic and structure, which has generally that kind of plot and then some romantic subplot that is kind of farcical in a sense as well.
Yeah, when they spoke about Commedia dell'arte, and they mentioned how performers would be paid, or performers were performing for tips, and so they were always trying to outdo each other and trying to get bigger laughs, which I guess is where the pun stuff kind of comes from. And you would see them riffing like that and just trying to outdo each other with ridiculous things. Yeah. And I guess that's exactly what they're doing here. The puns are getting more and more ridiculous as they go through.
That's it, yeah. And it's a really silly episode in many respects. But so the main idea is obviously they're gathering there to perform a robbery of £12 million worth of diamonds from what sounds like an incredibly irresponsible diamond van driver, security guy who just drives around on his own, leaves diamonds in the back while he goes and gets his...
in a pretty ropey case as well at that.
Yeah, he gets his flat white. Same time every day as well. Like, what's going on there? So at 2 minutes past 3, one security guard stops at coffee shop where he gets out to order his flat white. I mean, there's some stuff within this. I love this kind of so they go to the montage, don't they? After he's drawn the penis on the blackboard, and then Arlo's got a little bit. He's found that quite funny.
Well, that's that. Yeah, Pantalone is brutal.
Yeah,
he's a really nasty piece of work, and Patterson Joseph does an amazing job of making him come across as horribly sinister, and he's one of the only members of the cast who's taking himself seriously pretty much throughout this entire thing.
Yeah,
there's no little side jokes with him.
No, there aren't really, are there? No.
And it takes Collie has to cut to montage to make sure that Arlo doesn't get his throat slit at that point, really.
Yeah.
Because I think that might be what's about to happen, because he does not take kindly to being laughed at about the penis drawing. As soon as I saw that backwards 3 and then the road started to come off, I knew exactly what was about to happen.
And I mean, he should have really...
Actually, it wasn't a backwards 3, it was a forward 3. It was just a normal 3. It was fine. It was just a normal 3.
It was in a strange place on the blackboard.
It was on the far right of the blackboard.
Starting point. It was a far right 3. And they did. So the montage happens, and then when it cuts back out of the montage, they're still sat in their seats, aren't they? So I don't know whether that montage happens in their minds.
Well, they had to run that montage because they realised that they were trapped inside Warehouse 9. So they couldn't cut to that happening somewhere else. They had to come up with a way of showing that happening while staying inside their location, because otherwise it breaks the formula.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love the use of the umbrellas and stuff. I thought was brilliant, and the little theatrical riding around and things like that.
It's
So
in keeping,
good,
isn't it? With like, almost kind of drama school type things, and I was thinking, like, because there's quite a lot of people saying this is pretentious and it's artsy and whatnot. But if it's in the theatre, it's not. Like, this is and everything going on, even the kind of breaking of the fourth wall, like the soliloquy style stuff, like that is quite normal theatrical.
However, the fourth wall breaks tell us that we should think that it's artsy and pretentious and a drama teacher's wet dream.
Exactly. There's like no messing around there. Yeah. If you think that, then
you're right.
Yeah.
Let's get ahead of this. Let's get ahead of exactly what everyone's thinking.
Yeah. And if you're thinking that, then you're right, but you're going to be wrong, because we know that that's what you're thinking. So if you stay on that thought, then you're not engaging with the episode at the level that you ought to be. It's a great trap. It's a great trap.
So, if you haven't already guessed, it's a sort of cross between commedia dell'arte and a heist movie. I guess because they both use masks, which is quite clever in a way, but still sounds like something a drama teacher would have a wank to. But hey, it's series 6. You've got to allow for certain artistic exhaustion.
Columbina!
Oh, God. Here comes the subplot. Just stick with me on these bits and we'll get through them as quickly as possible.
But yeah, as they're going through that kind of montage, and Hortensia is behind the security guard in the queue, bumps into him, creating the distraction, so that Columbina can swap the coffee. And
I assume that she wasn't the original server. She wouldn't have been the original coffee server, because she may as well have just drugged it in the first place.
That's exactly what I thought. And it's like, no, she can't be in that position, in the position she's in that montage. That's not where she's going to be.
But I watched it with my wife, and that was the first thing she said was, well, why don't you just drug it in the first place? Why is there this layer added of just ridiculousn's?
Yeah. And one of my favourite bits is Arlo distracts the driver. And
with his terrible juggling.
And then it's Steve's face as the security guard being distracted, really enjoying the fact that this guy's just juggling in front of him. And
badly,
then later
badly
on,
juggling.
Badly juggling. And later on, after he's shot himself in the foot, he's explaining what's gone wrong. And he says, I was doing my distracting. And then he mimes the juggling. So it's like, that is what he did. It's brilliant. I love it.
I love the idea of this diamond heist happening with someone just whistling and then just going, oi, juggling.
Exactly. I mean, the whole thing seems maybe a little bit too elaborate.
Well, it's what you get at the end, at the end of an episode of Hustle. So usually you'd see this play out as an explanation of exactly what they did, and how they overcame the moment they thought it was all over because they were going to get stung. But this happens as kind of a precursor to tell you what's going to happen.
Yeah. Do we
which
find
is a bit
out?
Different.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, is that what happens in what's the film? Christopher Nolan film with the dreaming. Inception.
Yeah.
Do they go through something like that? Or am I thinking of something else? Because I've definitely seen things where they play out what's supposed to happen before it happens, but
not Minority Report with the future crime.
No, I think I was thinking of Inception, but I'm not sure it happens in Inception.
That's going into people's dreams, isn't it? And planning things. Which I guess is. Yeah, no, you might be thinking of that.
Maybe. I don't know, but that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we know what happens to Mario and Scaramouche when they go down the manhole covers into the sewers? I'm not sure there was a kind of follow-up to where... Because they ran away, didn't they?
Well, yeah. Because Pantalone comes back and basically pins the entire thing on Scaramouche screwing it up, but also he knows that Collie was the informant.
Yeah.
But he does very much blame Scaramouche for leaving them
Just being
open to it. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
but that's a part of their montage was them going down the manhole.
It was, but there was the bit slightly earlier. Is it earlier in the episode where Mario and Scaramouche were at cross purposes as to what was going on? Mario wanted to run away with Scaramouche with what he had in his trousers, which Mario meant diamonds. Scaramouche thought he meant explosives. Yeah. Neither of them meant cock. So I guess their plan was possibly to escape off down the sewers and then disappear. Maybe. Although I'm not sure.
Although everybody knew about that because it was being narrated by
Colin Beaner.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
And she was looking ahead in the script anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. And then, you get that reveal, don't you, from Colin Beaner of like, here's the twist.
It's
a really good one. And it's like, is it?
It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah. And she's Detective Sergeant Janus or Janus.
Oh, two faces.
One
looking into the future, one looking into the past. It is the god who has the face on the front and the back, isn't he? Who looks both ways.
Can see into the future of the script. But how far can she see? And this is where it's like, the super plot versus the, yeah.
Well, this is the thing, though. I think she can see all the way through the script because she never says that she survives. She tells Arlecchino that he's going to survive, but she doesn't say that she is.
That's true.
She says, you survive. I've looked 2 pages ahead.
Yeah.
But she doesn't say, I'm going to be all right.
Yeah.
So she may well know that she's going to be taken out.
Yeah.
If she did, I'd just steer clear of Pantalone with his little knife.
Yeah. And he puts his knife away and then pulls out a gun. So, even that's... yeah. So obviously then something goes wrong. There's an ambush. There's a rat in the group.
What sort of brain goes, there's a rat in the group, Bob Geldof? Because when everyone says rat, we all think of the Boomtown Rats. They are part of the collective consciousness where we all go when we hear about rodents.
Yeah, not Roland.
Not Roland Rat, no, one of the police. Gordon Sumner?
Yes, correct.
I do like that he didn't just go with Sting. I like the use of the real name.
And then Roger Daltrey.
But what?
Who?
The who?
What happened? It was an ambush. They knew we were coming. We must have a rat in the group.
Bob Geldof?
No, I mean somebody from the police.
Gordon Sumner?
Who?
Roger Daltrey?
No.
And then Arlo gets... All he wants is a sandwich. He gets his sandwich.
Kill Philly.
Doc and Colin Beaner arrive with the diamonds. The sandwich gets thrown. Poor old Arlo.
Yeah.
And
is that where they had the Cooked and Bond forum line?
Is that then?
Yeah, it's after she says, "Do you want a ham sandwich, lean?" I bet you're loving this on the Cooked and Bond forum.
That's like half of Tim Vine. One of Tim Vine's like sets is that kind of humor, lean. Both physical and pun. Yeah.
They said that the Cooked and Bond thing, they could have just gone with Twitter, and they thought about just doing Twitter, but it was so specific. There's the thing about the specificity and the Garibaldi biscuits. Yeah. But also
it's even more specific than that.
Even more specific than that, and there is just a tiny subsection of the viewership of this program that is going to be going, oh yeah. And it's worth it for that.
Yeah, because you don't actually lose out on anything if you don't know what that means.
No. You kind of get the gist.
Exactly.
Oh, that must be a comedy forum.
Yeah.
Fun.
Or it just passes you by. Like it,
Yeah.
There's plenty to pass you by.
And then there's a little setup here and a line that isn't delivered that apparently was delivered but wasn't.
Oh yeah. So it's really, and I think that sort of fits with the whole theme of like the plots and the sense that you can go 2 pages ahead. There's stuff in there, and then that meta twist of a scholar goes to a funeral and asks the widow, "Oh no, that's
you've done
not
this
there yet." Well, first of all, that's the next page. You've skipped a page, and then he does it again to the doc, and he says, "No, you've already done that." So it's like
he doesn't know where it is.
It's amazing. But we did look that joke up, and it's worth telling because it's hilarious.
Oh, it's a cracker. It is.
A scholar goes to a funeral and asks the widow,
"Mind if I say a word?"
Mind if I say a word? She says, "Please do." The man clears his throat and says, "Plethora." She replies, "Thanks. That means a lot." Oh, good.
When the time is right, we will switch the bona fide jewels with the paste ones, and no one will be any the wiser, capiche?
Whatever you say, Pops. As long as no one gets hurt. You know you can't stand the sight of blood.
Ah, yes, well suited. Arlet Kino, you made me a ham sandwich. How kind. Do we have a quorum? I speak a little Latin, you know.
Oh, that reminds me. A scholar goes to a funeral and asks the widow...
No. You've done this bit already. Excuse me.
You're putting the effort into inserting the start of a joke into your script that you know isn't going to be there. That joke exists and is out there, and people are aware of it. I wasn't. I now am, having gone away and looked it up. But some people would have gone, "Oh, the scholar and the widow joke." Love that one.
Yeah, they'd have known it. A lot
brilliant.
of people. Yeah. And there's another theme there, isn't there? Of getting the audience to do some work.
Sorry.
He's obviously
YouTube commenter
and chairs doesn't like having to do work. But I quite enjoy. That's what I like about Inside Number 9 and the sheer like spread of themes that they go into, and there's so much stuff that I'm like I don't know what that's referencing, and I enjoy doing the research and the work around it. I know some people like don't, obviously, like you kind of want to be able to just engage on the level of watching it, and you don't necessarily want to keep going around the onion and flying through the layers. But yeah, I like that.
Definitely,
I like that. Yeah, so blah blah blah. There's a Mexican standoff.
Very Reservoir Dogs.
Very Reservoir Dogs. It could end differently if the script was different.
Thank you for that in-depth analysis of everything you've ever watched and will ever watch in the future.
This could have ended so differently
if someone had written it differently.
Good point.
Everything you've ever read, everything you...
Harry Potter could have been so different.
It could.
If J.K. Rowling had written it differently. It's that line, isn't it, that Mario delivers? Give it to him, Pops. Let him have it.
Yeah.
And he's talking obviously about the diamonds, the case.
The fake, yeah.
The fake diamonds. And
they may as well have them.
Doc
that was the idea.
Yeah, which I think Doc is that, he's the archetype of the idiot who thinks he's pompous and clever. I think that's the kind of role.
Completely. The just the nonsense throwing in of Latin all over the place.
He says early on, doesn't he? I speak a little Latin.
It's during that standoff bit where he says quid pro quo, etc.
It's like you don't know Latin. You know English words that
after he's just said
Latin words we use in English. Mea
culpa while saying goodbye to Hortensia, saying it was his fault. It wasn't. Yeah. How was any of it his fault? Mea culpa, Hortensia.
Yeah,
that's not sure what you mean, is it?
That's a good point. Yeah, he says a few things, doesn't he?
I mean that
flagrante
whole
delicto.
We've been caught in flagrante delicto.
Amour fou. Yeah. Oh, he's an idiot.
To be honest, that whole bit there where she's died and he's over her body and talking is probably my favourite bit of the episode with the building up to the Jamaica that never comes.
The missing Jamaica.
Horsey and I had been having an affair for several months. It was an amour fou. It started on that business trip we took to Italy.
Do you know her?
Yes, and she was a little girl. We flew back together to the United States.
Chicago?
No, she was a passenger. And when we landed at the airport, I can't remember which one.
Alaska?
There's no point now, she's dead. We hatched this plan to steal the diamonds from you and run away together to the Caribbean.
Trinidad and Tobago?
Yes.
His yes to Trinidad and Tobago is just it's so good.
Alaska? There's no point. She's dead now.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. Yeah, and then obviously it finishes. Arlo tries waking Columbina up because he thinks
their relationship is really quite touching.
Yeah, they're obviously they get on.
I think this is the sort of thing where she's come into this group as an inside agent, but has also kind of just latched on to Arlo as this slightly simple and mistreated individual.
Yeah,
who she's got a bit of a fondness for.
Yeah, and I think that relationship within the Commedia dell'arte as well is they are the two. I think
they
two
sometimes have a relationship, don't they?
Yeah,
in some of them, but not always. It's kind of this kind of loose, general thing of they share some sort of positive relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then she doesn't wake up. None of this has been real, has it? Oh, what a question. And that's the question we're all kind of asking at that point.
I think it has been.
Yeah, I think it has been.
Which...
And that's where the curtain call bowing would, I think, undermine that question.
Because then it would be, no, it hasn't been, but they're all lying there on the floor in pools of blood. And
obviously it has been because it's a fictional TV program. But
yes. Well,
and that's
hang on.
That's the kind of the beauty of all of these layers of like how you engage with anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then it turns out it's not a bag of clear mints. It's a bag of diamonds. So him and his Echo are going to be okay.
I like that the Echo isn't really a thing throughout the episode, but is just a nice little silly ending.
Yeah.
It's weird that when he walks in and first starts talking, there is an echo, but it's only when Columbina starts talking back that he goes, "Oh, an echo."
Yeah.
When it's not an echo.
Get here before me. Yeah. And there's something in that kind of echo theme as well with, I was thinking, even just that, the sandwich, the fact he never gets his sandwich.
There's shouting down there.
There's the first part of, like, there's the request for a sandwich, and the sandwich almost gets to him, but it doesn't
never quite get.
Yeah, there's a kind of incompleteness to him.
I want a sandwich.
I think it's brought to a completeness at the end somehow, whatever that means.
The cheese.
Carefully.
Yeah, use a blunt knife. Speaking of the carefully sandwich, I think that Reese's physical comedy work in this is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I haven't seen him do this
first
time.
No, but he is so much of what is funny about Scaramouche are his movements and his
The thing I hadn't noticed first time around, the hanky when Doc Doc comes around after fainting, when he's just there waving his hanky, and then Doc's like, "That's enough," and he's like, "Okay," and then like stands to attention and then marches off. It's just like a real beautiful innocence to the thing he thinks is the right thing to do in that moment, which is to wave a hanky in his face.
Also, one of my favourite bits was the beef wrap, but I don't really know what the beef wrap was. I tried to decipher the beef wrap.
Do you want to know the words?
Yeah, please do.
What's a sandwich?
There isn't no cheese. I can offer you a beef wrap.
Go on.
Yo, I come from a cow. I got lots of prize from a bolognese.
Yo, I come from a cow. I get lots of prize for my bolognese.
It's a rap about being beef? I don't know.
Being beef, not even being a cow.
No, I come from a cow.
And I produce bolognese.
What,
it's like this in-between state that isn't, yo, I come from a cow. I got lots of prize for my bolognese. And it's Arlo's reaction to that is, it's like, what? I think he represents the audience at that point quite perfectly.
Because that just took the silliness up another notch, because the wordplay there really was just rap sounds like rap.
Yeah.
And that's me rapping about being beef.
Do you want a beef rap? Yeah, because that's obviously what I want. Yeah. Oh, man.
With the actions as well. The actions really added another level to it.
So much. Yeah, and even like this, when he asks Doc, how was the patitian? How was the patatient? And he's talking about the patient.
Yeah.
Talking about Arlo as a patient. And then I'm making a sandwich. Would you like a one?
How is the patitian?
Sorry?
Young Lacchino, he has a very bad injury.
Oh, I haven't examined him yet. To be honest, Captain, I'm a little hemophobic.
Oh, do not worry. I do not think he is a Queen Mary. I'm making a sandwich. Would you like a one?
I've got gelignite. No, it's okay. I've eaten. Oh, it's fucking dynamite. Oh, okay then.
Yeah. All right, I'll have some then. Yeah, it's great. Never tasted anything like it.
He's brilliant.
And when he's trying to, when Mario goes around and, baby, what are you doing to my pops? I'm trying to make him come too. Going about it in a very funny way. He's like, just going at Doc. And then he's like, go and get the smelling salts. And that's when he does his whole military
marching
stand
around
to attention and march off.
The Mario picking him up and kissing him.
Yeah.
Superb. I seem to remember friends of the show, Lauren, particularly enjoying that.
Mm-hmm. It's a great
start
moment.
of the episode. And the response there was, we need more men like him in the army.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. He is an international bombing expert.
He is. That's why he's there.
And I guess that kind of leads us into the love triangle subplot here that's going on. So Hortensia has a letter for someone that she gives to Columbina, who then hands it to Arlo to pass it on.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Who was that intended for Doc?
Well, I can only imagine it has to have been, unless what Doc said is not true. But it seems to be true.
But so she makes reference at the beginning to El Capitan, though, doesn't she? The captain.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't know how it ends up with Mario. Is that just Arlo's assumption that?
Well, so Pantalone is expecting El Capitan, Scaramouche, to be her husband, isn't he?
Yes. Yes.
So he's involved because he's basically selling her off, isn't he?
And that's what Scaramouche thinks as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because Scaramouche is not interested in Mario in that way. That only comes across through just his general campness.
Yeah.
And the innuendo, which isn't deliberate innuendo on his part. And so, but Mario is completely smitten by Scaramouche. The gazes across the room and things.
I didn't notice the first 2 times I watched it. I didn't notice the way he licks his nose.
Yeah.
Did you notice?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
That's such a brilliant little fleeting moment after the kiss, isn't it? And he just licks his nose and then disappears. Yeah. So you're made to think Hortensia fancies Mario, or like they're supposed to be together. Mario fancies Scaramouche. Scaramouche fancies Hortensia.
Yes.
But then Doc and Hortensia have been having an affair for months.
They've been in flagrante delictio.
Yes. And so maybe all of this is meant to be massively confusing because it's the subplot that isn't
just something to run.
Important.
No.
But actually, does the whole thing hinge on elements of it? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think it does it?
No, because the overarching thing is the diamond heist and the double cross.
Yeah.
Really.
And maybe that's why that mea culpa thing is like so absurd, because it's like, no, this has absolutely nothing to do with this storyline or with you. Like, you are literally an irrelevant character.
Completely. He is. He achieves nothing. I mean, apart from the diamond switch, which actually doesn't play off anyway in his favour. He's a doctor who's a haemophile. Hemophobe, sorry.
Yeah, even it's how ridiculous he is. Like, Mario is owning that situation before the Mexican standoff moment with the fact that he's like, no, I've swapped the diamonds. And it's like done. Doc's forgotten that
was their plan, the overall plan. Yeah. Not just part of, that was it. That was the plan. The whole plan. And that's happened, yet...
yeah, oh man.
Well, he's just, all the blood has confused.
Well, maybe we can get back to the A plot now that we've had this little diversion. I need you to hand over that case.
No, Pantalone. I won't do it.
Pops.
These diamonds are all my son and I have. They will ensure our safe passage out of here. Quid pro quo, etc.
I won't waste you here, Doc. I'll not shit on my own doorstep, but I need you to hand me the fucking ice.
It's fine. Do it.
Well, Desperando Mario, I can handle the negotiation.
This is not a negotiation.
Stop. You lay a finger on him and I'll carpet the floor with your brains.
I think this sets up the entire series quite effectively in terms of the meta narrative of, and I think it's more than meta. I think this one goes to a level of deconstruction above. It's beyond it's beyond deconstructing just like a commedia dell'arte thing or a heist movie. Like, it's deconstructing inside Number 9 itself, I think.
It's like you said earlier, it's quite a Stuart Lee approach to what they're doing.
Yeah. And when you're watching Stuart Lee, you know the level that he's talking about the meta part. It's a bit like Derren Brown. You know, when he'll explain what he's done, but that is not what he's done. Like, he's explaining something just below the true nature of what's going on. So there'll be people who engage with that and like, yeah, I saw what he was doing all along. Like, he was planting these ideas in everybody's minds. It's like, no, that's not what he's saying that's what he's done because he wants you to think that, like, what you think he wants you to think, if you think you're clever, that you are right. But actually there's a whole other level to it.
Yeah.
That you've missed because of your desire to be right. And I think Stuart Lee does that very well as well. Because what he says, I'm dividing the room in this way. This is what I'm doing here. It's like, and now he's doing something completely more to it.
Yeah.
There's more to it than that. And I think this was deconstruction to another level. And obviously you see it through the entire series then. Simon Says is a good next episode from that perspective. Because you've got the references to the production decisions. So you've got the whole that Bohemian Rhapsody thing going through it.
Yeah.
And the fact we can't finish that line because of licensing.
Yeah, Scaramouche is the one that gives himself away, where he's hiding because he can't help himself.
Yeah. Yeah, and and I suppose in that respect, it's also like almost raising awareness of the production decisions that go into squeezing this kind of thing into 30 minutes.
Well, and also the things like when they're having the discussion about why they're going to explain the plan again is for the benefit of people watching on BBC Two, BBC iPlayer, CCTV.
Yes, CC. It's good watching it with subtitles because you see it's SI.
Yeah.
TV.
CCTV. It's like CBeebies, but more complicated programs.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's also Mario and Doc having that conversation about the blood and about the fact that you can't stand the sight of blood. And then Doc says, well seeded.
Yeah.
I think this sets up the series as a large degree of awareness that this is going to divide opinion. And I think in the way that Wuthering Heist did divide opinion, in a way definitely like last night, the Proms divided opinion. I think, yeah, it's like, and again, it's kind of expecting that. So the fact that it happens and people react quite strongly in one direction or the other isn't like, yeah, it's kind of anticipated. I don't know how to describe it in a way that's.
I know what you mean. It's you get to a point where I guess when they say at the beginning, this is series 6, you've got to cut us a bit of slack. There's also kind of a knowing reference there to the point that you've probably got most people on your side anyway. If you're still here, series 6, the vast majority of people who have stuck around for 6 series of this will carry through with you.
Mm.
It's the people who kind of dip into this who are going to be divided. It will bring some new fans. So you've potentially got a 50-50 split of your new viewership who are going to join the people who are already in, and those who will probably not be switching back on again for Series 7. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they're here already with the viewership they've built up over the first 6 series means that they are in a position where they can do what they like, and they can irritate people and annoy people and just have fun. Yeah.
And that's where, as you say, that comment that I highlighted at the beginning from tables, athers and chairs kind of represents, I suppose, the maturity of people who have been there all along, and the awareness that, okay, I might not like every episode, or it might not resonate with me, or there might be something about it that is like, no, it's not necessarily for me. But that doesn't mean because I think if someone's coming to it for the first time, they're more likely to just say, no, it's shit, and turn it off. And then that their opinion is Inside Number 9 is rubbish. But actually,
there's no pressure. You don't have to produce an episode every time that is going to hold people on when you're this far into your run. You've shackles are off at this point. You can just, not that I think they've ever written for the audience. I don't think I've ever got the sense from this program that they were aiming to keep people on side.
No,
they had their producer on the podcasts who apparently they'd get notes back from him saying, cool, that's great, can we make it funnier? It's never felt like they were pandering at all.
No. But then I think within this series, it's the first time there's been a real awareness that there is an audience. And I think that kind of fourth wall break as well is
Zanzibar had a bit of fourth wall break.
It did, yeah, it did. But that was kind of within the plot of within the kind of, it was a device within the telling of that story,
as though it was a performance on stage.
And I felt like this one was okay, we're preparing you now for a kind of a common theme that goes through the entire series, which is this thin veil between that we are experiencing as creators between the creator and the audience, and that cooked and bombed reference is there. Simon Says, obviously, as I've mentioned, like that's a real nod to that thin veil between, and I guess it's a nodding or an acknowledgement from their perspective of we do know that the audience has opinions. We do feel the kind of pressure that comes from that, even though like we will go to an extreme level to not pander to that, in a sense of we're not just going to give you what you want, or give you what you think you want. And I think ending the series with Last Night at the Proms as well is that in it, like in its purest form to some degrees. It's like you didn't need to go there, but you've gone there, like, and you know full well how divisive that would be just as a subject matter to explore. But yeah, I do think that it's set it up perfectly for that that kind of sense that
I like that
we experience the audience not as, I guess, how TV would have been in the past, and filmmaking and music making and any kind of art where there's a distance between the creator and the consumer, or the creator and the audience, and that is no longer there.
Not at all.
Yeah,
it takes a quick search of hashtag inside number 9 to find out exactly what people are thinking as it airs.
Yeah,
which is a shame, because that immediacy of reaction just doesn't allow things to land.
No.
And I know it's been interesting to come to the end of each episode and say, I think I enjoyed that, or I'm not sure. I think that's really important, is I think I enjoyed it. I think that was an incredible episode, but there needs to be that and there needs to be that, but this is going to take some thought.
Yeah.
And there's
rewatching and engaging.
Absolutely. And there's no issue with that initial reaction, that initial gut feeling of that was a cracker. That was something quite special, because that has happened on a number of occasions. That's why I went back and rewatched this program, because it left me thinking that has left me feeling stunned, or that has left me feeling something amazing.
Yeah.
But they do need that space to land.
Yeah, totally.
It does need that. You need to go back. You need to go back to really form something a bit more full and fleshed out, I think.
Yeah, and that's why I was really, like, I guess, curious more than anything to do the reaction episodes as we did, to just give ourselves that, like, we now have that immediate reaction, having literally just watched it, having made no, like, you have no clue what it's going to be about. Like, that was kind of evident in our predictions and stuff like that. And then to just almost use that as a reflective device, like later on you can go back and listen to that and think, wow, like what I initially thought was so different to what I think now.
Although having said that, with this one, I don't think my second viewing of this changed much for me. The same things landed. Mm-hmm. There were little details here and there that I know you've picked out, little physical things, little subtle lines. But this one for me was pretty similar to my initial thoughts. It's given me a bit of space to be able to coherently speak about some of those thoughts a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think straight off the bat,
it's really difficult.
It was really difficult because it was such a crazy episode of just stuff. And it was brilliant fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so watching it for the second time, I felt very aware. I was like, I think I understand why people don't like it. And then I watched it the third time and I was like, now I really appreciate the intricacy and the, like, everything about this is so intelligently weaved or woven together. And the kind of, I know we've talked about like the metaphor of like an album and an album being made up of individual songs and stuff in the past. And I feel like that's what, when you're kind of judging with an extreme reaction, it's a bit like the difference between like pop songs and album. The song that you pick out as a single, this is going to be the thing that hooks people in immediately, versus like a grower of an album
deep
track.
Cuts.
Yeah, and so and I think with a pop song, you think something's amazing immediately. Like that's the purpose of it, is to not be something that you have to work hard at to appreciate. But then an album track that grows on you is something that you come back to and you hear new things in it every time you experience it. And I think the idea of having an extreme immediate reaction either way, to say this is amazing, like this is the best thing that I've ever seen, or no, this is shit, I'm never going to watch this episode again, like that's not going to serve you in terms of actually fully forming an opinion on the thing. It might be that at the surface level this has been an amazing episode, but the more you watch it, no, actually all it was what I saw the first time, compared with one that you go back and watch having maybe reacted first time like, oh, I hated that I didn't get it, it was boring, like there was no hook that I could get my teeth into or whatever, and actually that's the one that's going to give you the most joy in the long run. But
I'll be interested to see how the album thing plays out. I know we've spoken about a series before as like an album and having been crafted like an album. And with the way that this series and the next series have ended up being written, and this ending up as a bit of hodgepodge of two series, and so is the other one. Yeah, you're right. It is kind of that. It's like they went into the studio for some sessions, and out of those sessions came this album and then this album, and they weren't necessarily meant to be in that order. But this is just how it's worked out, and it'll be interesting because I mean you've just brought up some themes there, some themes that kind of run through, and they may not have been deliberate themes, and it may just be a result of them feeling a little bit more free, that those themes have just kind of worked their own way out rather than being deliberately put there, just as a symptom of how they are engaging with the people that are viewing with their work. But I'll be interested to see if anything pops out of Series 7 as a common thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, cool. Well, this has been really nice to...
How relaxed.
Yeah, it's felt good to have this rhythm again. And yeah, and welcome to anyone who is listening to this now, having first heard us through the Series 6. If there's anyone remaining, it's great to have you on board.
Probably half of them. Half of them have been stuck here since the beginning.
I definitely prefer a more relaxed recording, having watched the episode a few times.
Yeah, I think so too.
Just a lot less stressful.
It's something we've been doing for about a year. If it ain't broke.
Yeah.
I think we'll kind of go back to that kind of thing of when we get to the end of this series, having a wrap up and kind of reflecting on some of the thoughts you've got on some of these episodes as well. We'll kind of pull those all together in our now traditional end of season wrap up.
Yep.
Not a beef wrap up. Drop us an email at aquietnightinside09@gmail.com. Come and chat to us on Twitter at AQNIN9, or I'll at some point again pop out another invite to the Discord if you would like to.
The Discord.
Chat to some like-minded people, which started off really positively, but it's kind of slowed down an awful lot. Simon Woolley's Crossword Corner isn't getting the initial love that it got.
I think everyone's just forgotten that it's there.
I'll bring it back into the collective psyche again.
Yeah, I'd forgotten it was there.
There you go.
So,
and you're and you're actually invested.
Yeah, heavily. Yeah. Great. Well,
Cool.
Thanks, mate. It's been lovely. See you next week.
Next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.